Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Human-Computer Interaction. Today's lecture is about the goals of human-computer interaction and the evolution of human-computer interaction. But before we recap on the last lecture, I'd like to ask you a question. Question क्या है? सवाल क्या है? सवाल ये है कि what is the belief of engineers? Engineers का अकीदा क्या है? आप जरा इस पे सोचें and we'll discuss it later on. अब आइए देखते हैं कि हमने लास्ट लेक्चर में क्या पढ़ा था. In the last lecture, we talked about the bad effects of devices, of computer-based devices that affect human beings in an adverse way. मसलन हमने देखा था कि एक प्लेन के अंदर, एक जहाज के अंदर जो in-flight entertainment system है, how that affected the customers of the plane and the staff of the plane, the employees of the airline. And we saw that because this in-flight entertainment system, जिसके ज़रिए से आप movies देख सकते हैं, audio सुन सकते हैं और different programs देख सकते हैं on a very long distance journey on an airplane, because it was hard to use, the staff were reluctant to use that system. And they even went to the extent of stopping the system. वो customers को बताते थे ये system काम ही नहीं करता, it was so hard to use. So employees were dissatisfied and the customers, the passengers in the plane, were also dissatisfied. So computer devices are everywhere in our life today, and if they are hard to use, then that has an adverse effect on human beings. इसकी वजह से employee satisfaction कम होती है, इसकी वजह से customer satisfaction कम होती है, and there is a loss in productivity, there is a loss in revenue. In the last lecture, we saw many statistics which told us that if human-computer interaction issues are not taken care of, how that affects a company or an organization financially. मसलन हमने ये देखा था कि say for example, there is an e-commerce system, and that e-commerce system has the potential to make $100 million in sales every year. But because 50% of the time people cannot find the item that they are looking for, तो क्या होगा? जो आपको चीज़ नहीं मिलेगी, आप चीज़ खरीद नहीं सकेंगे over the internet through a web application. So the company who is hosting or running that web application will not make money. और उसकी वजह से they will have a loss. So according to the current research, which says 50% of the time people cannot find the item that they are looking for, that means 50% sales are lost. So a company with $100 million in potential sales will only make $50 million, and $50 million will be lost. So here we can see that the effect on the revenues of a business and also the effect on human productivity. We also talked about the new economy in which information is the key, and those companies will be successful who can build a relationship with their customers. Nowadays, much of business is now being done over the internet through the use of computers. So those companies which can build applications, websites, जिसके ज़रिए से लोग और उनके customers आसानी से इसको इस्तेमाल कर सकते हों और अपने goals को achieve कर सकते हों, then those companies will be successful in this new economy. So in other words, success criteria in the new economy depends upon providing good user experiences, fulfilling the customer's expectations. Now let's see what we will study in today's lecture. In today's lecture, we will look at the goals of HCI. Human-computer interaction के goals क्या हैं? We will talk about usability goals, and we will also discuss user experience goals. Secondly, we will look at the relationship between usability and quality, and more specifically, software quality. Fourthly, we will look at how the field of human-computer interaction has evolved. HCI की field इसने कैसे evolve किया है, इसकी brief history क्या है. So these are today's goals. Now, I asked you at the beginning of this lecture, what is the belief of engineers? What do engineers believe? Engineers का अकीदा क्या है? उनके beliefs क्या हैं? Well, engineers have very strong beliefs. Software engineers, computer engineers. वो क्या believe करते हैं? वो ये believe करते हैं कि जो चीज़ उन्होंने बनाई है, एक सॉफ्टवेयर है, एक वेबसाइट है, एक कंप्यूटर बेस्ड डिवाइस है, इसके बड़े अच्छे फीचर्स हैं, दिस कैन बी यूज्ड बाय एवरीवन. ये उनका बिलीफ है. उनका बिलीफ ये है कि चूंकि हमने ये चीज़ बना दी है और हम इसको इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, लिहाजा हर आदमी इसको इस्तेमाल कर सकता है. They believe that everyone should be able to use the device that they have created. ये कंप्यूटर बेस्ड डिवाइस है, ये कंप्यूटर है, ये सॉफ्टवेयर है, ये तो इसको तो हर कोई इस्तेमाल कर सकता है. And they also believe that people who can't use their created devices, then there must be something wrong with them. कोई उन लोगों के अंदर मसला है जिनको ये डिवाइस इस्तेमाल नहीं करनी आती. That's what they believe. That's the belief of techies, software engineers. And because of this belief, we find that they have a different approach in building computer-based systems. They have different goals. एक engineer का goal क्या है? An engineer's goal is to make a system work. To create a system, a device, a software that has features that work reliably, that can be maintained easily, that do not have any flaws in the internal workings of a system. So this is the primary difference. Like we discussed in the previous lectures, that whereas software engineering and other computer science disciplines are concerned with the internal workings of devices, of computer-based systems, human-computer interaction is concerned with the external workings. So we can clearly see that the goals and the approaches are different in both disciplines. In the way of thinking of people in these two different disciplines. Now let's start talking about the goals of human-computer interaction. What are these goals? हमने देखा कि engineers के goals क्या हैं, उनका अकीदा क्या है, उनका belief क्या है. So what are the goals of human-computer interaction? Let's just revise and remind ourselves about what human-computer interaction is. Again, let's look at the definition that we have seen before. Human-computer interaction is a discipline concerned with the design, evaluation, and implementation of interactive computing systems for human use, and with the study of major phenomena surrounding them. This has been brought to you by ACM and IEEE. What you see on the screen right now is a diagram about HCI. आपके सामने एक basic HCI diagram है, एक conceptual diagram है about human-computer interaction. इसमें एक तरफ तो कंप्यूटर आपको दिखाई दे रहा है और एक तरफ एक human की figure दिखाई दे रही है. These are the two components of HCI. Humans interact with computers. Now, whenever a human being interacts with a computer or a computer-based system, this human being feels something. this human being experiences something. ये जो experience है इसको हम user experience कहते हैं. This is felt by the human being. So the user experience relates to the human being, और human being को user भी कहा जाता है computer science की ज़बान में. On the other side we have the computer. Humans, users, interact with computers through an interface. जिसके ज़रिए से इंसान कंप्यूटर से इंटरेक्ट करते हैं उसको एक इंटरफेस कहते हैं. Now there are two kinds of interfaces. You can have hardware interfaces. You can also have software interfaces. We will primarily be concerned with the software interfaces. Anyway, an interface can have many attributes. And one of the attributes of an interface is usability. Usability एक characteristic है interface की. अब देखते हैं कि usability क्या है और user experience क्या है. Let us first talk about the user experience. User experience को समझने के लिए आप daily life में एक example को consider करें. मसलन आप में से हर कोई दुकान पर जाता होगा. यकीनन आप शॉपिंग भी करते होंगे. जब आप शॉपिंग करते हैं तो आपका एक एक्सपीरियंस है, एंड दैट एक्सपीरियंस कैन बी गुड और बैड. मसलन लाहौर में एक बाज़ार है जिसका नाम अनारकली है. वहाँ पे छोटी छोटी दुकानें हैं, सड़कें भी बहुत छोटी छोटी हैं. वहाँ पे काफ़ी मिट्टी धुआं भी होता है. जब वहाँ पे जाते हैं तो वहाँ पहुँचने में आपको मुश्किल पेश आती है. वहाँ का हो सकता है दुकानदार आपसे ज़रा अच्छे तरीके से बात ना करे. So your experience is not good. On the other hand, if we go to a different part of the city और आप एक बड़े मॉडर्न शॉपिंग सेंटर में जाते हैं जहाँ बड़ी दुकानें हैं, वहाँ पर एयर कंडीशनिंग है, आपको गर्मी भी नहीं लगती. आप किसी दुकान में जाते हैं तो सेल्स पर्सन आपको बड़े अच्छे तरीके से मिलता है, आपकी खातिर तवाज़े करता है, and whatever you need, the salesperson will help you. So you have this enjoyable experience. एक अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस आपको गुजरता है. This is the experience which can be good or bad. तो डेली लाइफ में हर वक्त आपके एक्सपीरियंसेस हो रहे हैं. कभी अच्छे होते हैं और कभी बुरे होते हैं. In the same way, when you use computers, there is an experience. इसको हम user experience कहते हैं. Let us now define the user experience. The user experience is the holistic combination of everything that the user sees, touches, feels, or otherwise interacts with. तो जब भी आप एक कंप्यूटर इस्तेमाल करेंगे कोई ना कोई एक्सपीरियंस होगा, एक यूज़र एक्सपीरियंस होगा. Now, what happens with these experiences? These good or bad user experiences? इसका रिजल्ट क्या होता है? आपके सामने एक डायग्राम है, एक फिगर है, and as you can see, when people have good experiences, तो इसका रिजल्ट क्या होता है? इसका रिजल्ट ये होता है कि satisfaction मिलती है. People are happy. They feel elated. On the other hand, जब bad experience होता है तो उसका रिजल्ट क्या होता है कि frustration होती है, resentment, anger, and even rage. Now, let's talk about usability. What is usability? किसी कंप्यूटर बेस्ड डिवाइस की यूजेबिलिटी हम कैसे समझ सकते हैं? Well, there are two simple abstract level concepts. यूजेबिलिटी क्या है तो दो आइडियाज़ के ज़रिए से हम इसको अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हैं वेरी ईजिली. वन इज़ द ईज़ ऑफ यूज़ एंड सेकेंडली द यूज़फुलनेस. ईज़ ऑफ यूज़ क्या है कि क्या मैं इस सॉफ्टवेयर को इस्तेमाल कर सकता हूँ, क्या मैं इस कंप्यूटर को आसानी से इस्तेमाल कर सकता हूँ. एंड once I've started using that software, that computer or computer-based device, तो क्या मुझे उससे कोई फ़ायदा या कोई नफ़ा मिल रहा है? So these, in a nutshell, are what usability stands for. Making things user-friendly, easy to use. Another definition of usability is given. Usability, ensuring that interactive products are easy to learn, effective to use, and enjoyable from the user's perspective. तो यहाँ पे जो stress है और emphasis है, that is on the user's perspective, not the engineer's perspective or the company's perspective or the programmer's perspective. यहाँ पे बात हो रही है यूजर्स पर्सपेक्टिव की, कि फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ द यूजर, जिसने उस सॉफ्टवेयर को, कंप्यूटर को इस्तेमाल करना है. अब एक फिगर देखते हैं, एक पिक्चर देखते हैं, which tells us and explains the concept of perspective. यानी एक आइडिया पर, एक कॉन्सेप्ट पर डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव्स हो सकते हैं. आइए देखते हैं. आपके सामने एक सिंपल सी एक फिगर है, एक इमेज है, एक पिक्चर है. अब आप इसको कैसे परसीव करते हैं और मैं इसको कैसे परसीव करता हूं? तो इस परसेप्शन में, मेरी परसेप्शन में, आपकी परसेप्शन में फ़र्क हो सकता है. डिफरेंट पीपल परसीव थिंग्स इन डिफरेंट वेज. मसलन अगर आप इस पिक्चर को देखें तो एक पर्सपेक्टिव से यूं लगता है दिस पिक्चर इज अबाउट अ यंग गर्ल और उसने सर पे टोपी पहनी हुई है. ऑन द अदर हैंड, इफ यू सी अ डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव इन दिस इमेज, तो आपको क्या नज़र आएगा कि ये पिक्चर एक आदमी के बारे में है और उसकी बड़ी बड़ी मूंछें और बड़ा सा नाक है. तो इस सिंपल पिक्चर और इमेज से हमें ये पता चलता है कि डिफरेंट पीपल की डिफरेंट परसेप्शंस हो सकती हैं और ऐसा होता है. सो engineers might have a different idea or perception about computer devices, which may be different, in fact is different than the users or the humans that interact with those devices. लेकिन असल में हमने जो देखना है और जिस चीज़ को हमें श्योर करना है, इंश्योर करना है, is that the perspective of the user is kept at the forefront. That is the most important thing. So let's start discussing usability and user experience goals. स्क्रीन के ऊपर आपको एक डायग्राम दिखाई दे रही है. A very simple diagram. Again, another conceptual diagram. This diagram has two circles, two concentric circles. The inner circle shows usability goals, and the outer circle shows user experience goals. इससे हमें ये पता चलता है that there is some connection between usability goals and user experience goals. User experience goals और usability goals की dependency है एक दूसरे के ऊपर. So what are these usability goals? There are many usability goals. Let's take a look. There are various new usability goals. For example, effectiveness, efficiency, safety, utility, learnability, and memorability. First of all, let's consider effectiveness. Effectiveness is defined as how good the system is at doing what it is supposed to do. सिस्टम में जो काम करना है वो वाकई तौर पर वाकईतन कितना अच्छा काम करता है. वो फंक्शन जो उसने परफॉर्म करना वो कितना अच्छा परफॉर्म करता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स कंसिडर द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द आई ड्राइव इन द कार. ये एग्जाम्पल हमने पिछले लेक्चर्स में डिस्कस किया था कि एक जर्मन कार मैन्युफैक्चरर ने एक कंप्यूटर बेस्ड डिवाइस लगाई थी एक रेंज ऑफ कार्स के अंदर, और इसके ज़रिए से यूज़र जो ड्राइवर है कार का वो डिफरेंट फीचर्स को एक्सेस करता था. नाउ दिस डिवाइस हैड टू पार्ट्स. इट हैड अ नॉब from which you could access the features, and it had a screen which displayed the information. Now, if the screen is hard to read, if the information cannot be read easily on the screen, then that means the screen is not effective. This computer-based device is not effective. In the same way, we saw the example of the computer-based alarm clock. Now, if this computer-based alarm clock does not wake you up in the way that you want to be woken up, then it is not effective. Now, let's take a look at efficiency. Efficiency is defined as being able to support a user in carrying out tasks with less resources, with less effort. With minimum effort, with minimum resources, users should be able to complete their tasks. Maslan, if it takes a user 5 steps to access a feature on the iDrive in the car, then it may not be as efficient. If the user were able to access this feature through one step. इसी तरीके से अगर आप एक वेबसाइट इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, you're using a website and you want to find information, one website allows you to get the information through 10 clicks of the mouse, whereas another website allows you to access the information through only 3 clicks. So, which one is more efficient? इसका फैसला आप खुद ही कर लीजिए. Now let's take a look at other usability goals. Another usability goal is safety. Safety is protecting the user from dangerous conditions and undesirable situations. अब आप मुझे बताइए, पिछले लेक्चर्स में हमने various case studies देखे थे. वो कौन सा इंसिडेंट था जिसे यकीनन आप बचना चाहते होंगे, जो आपके पर्सनल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अनडिजायरेबल था? यस, दैट्स ट्रू. इट वाज द प्लेन इंसिडेंट. जो एयरप्लेन क्रैश हो गया था ना, तो जाहिर है कि आपके लिए एक अनडिजायरेबल सिचुएशन है. यू वुड डेफिनेटली वांट टू अवॉइड दिस सिचुएशन. So designing computer-based systems which are safe, और इसकी अहमियत बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाती है in mission critical systems. ऐसे computer-based systems which are critical to the success of any organization, any device, any company. For example, a nuclear plant. If the computer malfunctions in a nuclear plant, तो क्या खतरा हो सकता है? There could be a radiation leak which could affect a vast area and it could damage and harm human beings. So safety is about protecting people, protecting users from undesirable situations. For example, आप सॉफ्टवेयर जब इस्तेमाल करते हैं, you also might encounter undesirable situations. For example, जैसा कि आपको स्क्रीन पे नज़र आ रहा है, 2 स्क्रीनशॉट्स दिखाई दे रहे हैं. In the left hand screenshot, you are seeing different menus. New, Open, Save As. ये एक grouping बनाई गई है, and the other one is save, close, etc. In the other screenshot, we have new, open, close. ये एक grouping हो गई और उसके बाद save, save as, etc. Now, which one of these scenarios is more safe from your point of view? आप save दबाना चाहते हैं, अगर close का ऑप्शन save के बिल्कुल साथ है, उसके साथ ही ग्रुप हुआ है, तो बजाय save दबाने के हो सकता है आप close दबा दें. So that is an undesirable situation. So we can see that the right hand scenario is the better scenario, is the more safe scenario from the user's perspective. Another goal of usability is utility. How useful are computer-based devices? देखिए, इसको हम वेबसाइट के एग्जाम्पल से बहुत अच्छी तरह समझ सकते हैं. Remember, I told you in the beginning that usability is ease of use. आप एक वेबसाइट इस्तेमाल करते हैं, वहाँ पर आपको एक इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए. वो इंफॉर्मेशन पहले तो आपको मिलती नहीं है. So this does not have ease of use. ये वेबसाइट easy to use नहीं है. But once you find that information, is that information really useful to you? क्या वाकई आपके काम की है भी कि नहीं? Does it increase your knowledge? Does it fulfill your expectations? That is utility. क्या आपके लिए useful है? So utility is providing the right kind of functionality so that users can do what they want as opposed to what the engineer wants. So another goal of usability is learnability. A system should be easy to learn. अगर आप उसको learn नहीं कर सकते, इसका मतलब है it does not have usability. वो usable नहीं है. For example, the iDrive again. Now this particular device was not easy to learn. And the customers of this car, they used to phone the company again and again. कि जी हमें तो फलानी चीज़ समझ नहीं आ रही, हमें इसका ये फीचर समझ में नहीं आ रहा. So it is not easy to learn. And lastly, memorability. Once you have learned how to use a system, a software, an interface, how easy is it to recall that? How easy is it for you to use that device again once you have learned it initially? So these are some usability goals. Now let's take a look at user experience goals. There are many and various user experience goals. For example, it should be satisfying, enjoyable, fun, entertaining, helpful, motivating, aesthetically pleasing, supportive to creativity, rewarding, and emotionally fulfilling. So these are the user experience goals. Normally, good usability will lead to a good user experience. बहुत कम ऐसे circumstances होते हैं जिसमें usability तो अच्छी नहीं है लेकिन user experience बहुत अच्छा है. For example, it could be a game which has a good user experience but it is hard to learn. लेकिन ये जानबूझ के किया गया है because the makers of a video game wanted to be hard to learn. But they want the people to have a good user experience. But normally, good usability of the interface will lead to the good user experience on part of the human being, on part of the user. So, let's take a look at the same diagram that we initially saw with some more details. अब आपको वही diagram दिखाई दे रही है जो पहले हमने देखी थी, जिसमें usability goals core पे हैं, they are at the inner circle, and user experience goals are on the outer circle. So, by fulfilling usability goals, that will in turn lead to good user experiences which are fun, satisfying, rewarding, emotionally fulfilling, entertaining, etc. Now it's time for today's revelation. आज की revelation क्या है? Don't make me think. Yes, that's today's revelation. If you want your software, your computer-based device to be good, to be usable, then don't make users think. आप ऐसा सॉफ्टवेयर बनाएं, ऐसा कंप्यूटर बनाएं जिसको लोग कम से कम सोच में और आसानी के साथ इस्तेमाल कर सकें. यूज़र को ज़्यादा सोचना ना पड़े, ज़्यादा मेंटल एफर्ट ना करनी पड़े, वरना तो वो एंजॉय नहीं करेगा. Now let's just talk about usability and quality. Quality क्या है? आप सब जानते हैं. अगर आपको चीज़ अच्छी लगती है तो आप कहते हैं इसकी क्वालिटी बहुत अच्छी है. अगर एक चीज़ है जो आपको सेटिस्फाई नहीं करती, ख़राब हो जाती है, रिलायबल नहीं है, तो आप कहते हैं कि इसकी क्वालिटी अच्छी नहीं है. So what is the connection between usability and quality? और यहाँ पे हम बात कर रहे हैं किसी सॉफ्टवेयर की क्वालिटी या किसी कंप्यूटर बेस्ड डिवाइस की क्वालिटी. तो इसका आपस में क्या कनेक्शन, क्या रिलेशनशिप है इन दोनों चीज़ों का? Well, let's talk about software quality, for example. Software quality क्या है? Software quality is the extent to which a software product exhibits the following characteristics. And these are functionality, reliability, usability, efficiency, maintainability, and portability. So as a software engineer, as a person interested in programming, you must have heard of all the other characteristics: maintainability, portability, reliability. But the fact is, you cannot have good software, you cannot ensure software quality without usability. So that is the relationship between usability and quality of computer-based devices. So that's enough about the goals of human-computer interaction. I'm sure you're very clear about what the goals of human-computer interaction are and how they differ from other computer science disciplines. Now let's take a brief look at how the field of human-computer interaction has evolved over the past years. The groundwork for human-computer interaction was laid in the early 1960s, and this went up to the 1970s. In 1960, a person called Nick Leider came up with a theory of man-machine symbiosis. He proposed that computers in the future will contribute in the creative processes employed by human beings. Similarly, in 1963, Engelbart proposed the idea of augmentation of human intellect. In other words, he saw that in the future, computers will supplement human intellectual capabilities. They would enhance our intellect. Also in 1963, Sutherland developed the sketchpad system at MIT, a very famous university in America. Now his ideas were about how to display, manipulate, and copy pictures. And he also proposed the use of input devices for computers. At the same time, there was also this development in creating powerful editing tools, in new developments in computer graphics. So there were various developments in the 1960s and 1970s which was making computers more exciting, more fun. What happened in the beginning of the computer age was that computers were really only used by engineers. They were only used by scientists. and the interfaces for these computers were very basic. यानी आप टाइप करते थे और कमांड्स के ज़रिए से आप कुछ आउटपुट लेते थे. This was in the beginning. But as there were developments in the area of computing, graphics for example, then this made it easy for everyone to use these devices. Now, as a result, in the 1970s, there was this thinking and there was this realization. वो realization क्या थी? एक एहसास पैदा होने लगा लोगों के अंदर, system designers के अंदर, software engineers के अंदर, that if they do not make their interfaces good, if they do not make them better, then they will suffer as a company and as engineers. So various efforts were made to make interfaces more usable. Now, what actually happened was that the engineers or the designers, they became more interested in the aesthetic look of an application. उनका फोकस क्या बनता रहा कि उसको ज़रा खूबसूरत बना दिया जाए. Now, aesthetically pleasing interfaces are a user experience goal. लेकिन अगर आप एक इंटरफेस को ज़रा खूबसूरत बना दें, वो देखने में अच्छा लगे, इसका ये नहीं मतलब कि कोई उसको आसानी से इस्तेमाल कर पाएगा. So, academics at universities and various places, they try to see that how can computers enrich human life. Human life जो है वो कैसे ज़्यादा rich हो सकती है, ज़्यादा आसान हो सकती है. लोग जो हैं how can they feel more and more creative and more productive. So इस पे research शुरू हुई. The term HCI was adopted in the mid-1980s. HCI यानी Human Computer Interaction की term 80s के अंदर सामने आई. At this point, I'd like to present another definition of HCI, a set of processes, dialogues, and actions through which a human user employs and interacts with a computer. Now, in the evolution of human-computer interaction, in the process of making computers more easy to use, more usable, there are three landmark systems. तीन ऐसे systems हैं जो कि बहुत नुमाया हमें नज़र आते हैं. आइए देखते हैं कि वो systems क्या हैं. The first is the Dynabook, the second is the Star, and the third is the Apple Lisa. One of the common themes in all these three systems, in these computer systems, was that they were very easy to use. इनकी फीचर्स क्या थे, हाइलाइट्स क्या थे कि हर कोई इनको आसानी से इस्तेमाल कर सकता था in relation to, with respect to previous computer systems. Now let's briefly look at what these systems did. Dynabook was the brainchild of Alan Key and his associates at Xerox's Palo Alto Research Center, or PARC for short. They were based in California, America. इनकी intention ये थी to develop a highly responsive book-sized PC जिसमें color display हो और एक radio link हो to a worldwide network, and this could serve as your secretary, your mailbox, library, telephone center, and even amusement center. So this was a very, very innovative idea. The same team then built upon the Dynabook idea and developed the Star. शायद आपने नाम सुना हो. It's not very well known, but this was a desktop-sized personal workstation. Now this system, the Star, had many innovative ideas, many innovative features. For example, the first time a mouse was used was in this system. The team at Xerox PARC were the people who have the credit of inventing the mouse. और आप देखते हैं कि आज भी जो कंप्यूटर आप इस्तेमाल करते हैं उसमें भी माउस होता है. सो सबसे पहले ये स्टार के अंदर आया था एंड मैनी अदर कॉन्सेप्ट्स, फॉर एग्जांपल आइकॉन्स एंड विंडोज़ जो आप आजकल के मॉडर्न पीसी में इस्तेमाल करते हैं, वो सबसे पहले स्टार के सिस्टम में आया था. सो दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ कंट्रीब्यूशंस. Xerox PARC, a very, very innovative company. लेकिन unfortunately, they could not capitalize on this invention. यानी जो उन्होंने innovative ideas present किए थे, उसको ज़्यादा commercialize और popular नहीं बना सके for various reasons. The next most significant system in the history of human-computer interaction is the Apple Lisa. This was invented in the early 1980s by Apple, which was formed by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. अब इन्होंने क्या किया कि स्टार के अंदर जो आइडियाज़ और कॉन्सेप्ट्स थे जिसको Xerox PARC ज़्यादा पॉपुलर ना कर सका, they took these ideas and developed another computer system जिसका नाम उन्होंने Lisa रखा. So basically it had the same ideas like a mouse and icons and windows, and it was very user friendly. इसके बाद इन्होंने एक और सिस्टम डेवलप किया which was known as the Macintosh. This was much smaller and cheaper and more powerful than the Apple Lisa. So the first company that popularized the graphical user interface जिसके ज़रिए से हम ज़्यादा आसानी के साथ कंप्यूटर्स को इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, the credit for this goes to Apple. So that brings us to the end of today's lecture. आज के लेक्चर में हमने कई चीज़ें देखी and the most important thing that we looked at was what are the goals of human-computer interaction. इसमें हमने दो तरह के goals देखे, हमने usability goals देखे and user experience goals देखे. Usability and user experience are two fundamental concepts in human-computer interaction. User experience pertains to the user, whereas usability pertains to the interface inside a computer. और उसके बाद हमने evolution कैसे हुई है HCI की, वो हमने देखी और उसमें हमने तीन systems को देखा, the Dynabook, the Apple Lisa and the Star, which have contributed in popularizing computers throughout the world. So to sum things up, the inventions which have made computers popular are the systems which were easy to use. So we can say that these are the goals of human-computer interaction. And these are the goals that you as a system developer, as a programmer, also need to adopt. So there is a fundamental difference between user goals and programmer's goals, software engineer goals, and the goals of a human-computer interaction professional. इसके साथ आज का लेक्चर ख़त्म करते हैं. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.